right, welcome to the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, where connections matter. I am Charles McKay, your host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, aka Charlie the Plug. I do apologize for those who may have been waiting for our scheduled time at 8 o'clock. We had some technical difficulties, but we're here now. So thank you for those who are watching us live or who will watch the replay. So welcome to episode 94. We have a very special guest, a difference maker in the Detroit area, and she's going to talk about her nonprofit, Emprove You, a little bit about that in an upcoming event, which will be held this Monday. So she'll talk a little bit about that regarding mental health services targeting men. So that's going to be great. So those who are welcome, those who are joining us, want to again thank you for joining this podcast, and those who are watching the replay. And if you happen to be watching live, please like and share. That helps expand our podcast. So I encourage you to share with a friend, a family about the great things that we're doing with this podcast, sharing positive stories, positive contributions here in the city of Detroit. So thank you again. Welcome to episode 94. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. For our guests, I'm gonna show a video clip. She was recently on a podcast sponsored by the Black Leaders Detroit called "Speak for Yourself," and she's talking about the things she's doing in the community. And I'm gonna show a little quick clip. And then I'm going to introduce her, and she's going to talk about what she's got going on. And we're going to get right to our show. So here's a clip right here.
And it is hard sometimes for women to create that space for men. And sometimes this is not to blame men, but sometimes because men suppress so much, we're not really allowed to cultivate that space for you to express because you push things down or suppress. So sometimes it'll be pushed down so much and compartmentalized so much that when you've had enough and reach your breaking point, it just explodes like a volcano. Mm-hmm. And we're the casualty. Everything explodes onto us because we take things different brunt of the work, the brunt of our roles in society and in the family structure, and sometimes we might be hurting too, and we don't have the capacity to take on. But if we work together and communicate more on a regular basis, when we have that check-in with each other, it'll be easier to have those talks without being in a state of emotion. Because when you're in a state of emotion, you're not trying to hear anything anybody's saying.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 94. Our next guest, she is a native Detroiter. She is an author. She is a mental health advocate. She is the founder of Emprove You, and she's a graduate of Michigan State. So go green. I know that there's a big game this weekend. I don't have any skin in the game. I went to Wayne State, so shout out to Wayne State University. But whoever wins, well, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't. But welcome to episode 94. None other than Qiana M. Davis.
Hello. We're here. No technical difficulties this time.
Yes, we're here. Thank you for your time. So let's get right into it. I showed that clip, and you were talking about just creating spaces for men to kind of share what they're going through and express their emotions. And,
yes.
And that was an interesting interview. Shout out to Black Leaders Detroit and the work.
Yes. Shout out to Black Leaders Detroit, big time.
Yeah,
they're a huge sponsor with the Men Too event that's coming up on Monday, October 23rd. So definitely big shouts out to them for seeing the vision and immediately jumping behind it.
Yeah. So I want to get to for our audience who may not know who you are. If someone was to ask, who was Qiana M. Davis? Did I pronounce that right, Qiana?
You are pronouncing that beautifully. Thank you so much.
I want to make sure. What would you tell people? Somebody asked, who is that? Who was Qiana Davis? What would you tell them?
Ooh, well, Qiana M. Davis, it doesn't sound funny to speak in third person, but it's a very multifaceted individual. So there's a peel back layer effect.
Hmm.
You might not get the same version of me each time we meet or interact because there are many different layers to my personality and just my mission in general. Prime example with the mental wellness platform Improve You, a lot of people that didn't know me when I was younger don't also know that I'm a creative. I'm a visual designer and artist.
Hmm.
And we briefly talked about fashion. Fashion is part of my background. I was a fashion design student at one point.
Okay.
So there are many aspects and layers to me, and the mental health is a huge part of who Qiana M. Davis is today.
All right. All right. So obviously you're multifaceted. You're an artist. You've done fashion. I think when I read your bio, you did some work with
Mhm.
Rolling Out. Uh,
Yeah.
and you're also an author, and you also
Yep.
done some work with grief, dealing with grief.
Yes.
The past of I don't know if it was dealing with your own issues with grief.
Yeah.
What path to leading you to be an advocate for mental health?
It's exactly what you just said. Dealing dealing with my own personal loss and still dealing with your own personal losses because once you experience grief and have mourned and lost loved ones, it's something that you experience and deal with for the rest of your life. It's not something that just goes away. There's no getting over it. You move through it, you work around it and you transform and change as a result of it, but it's not something that ever goes away.
Okay.
So for me personally, that is what kicked off the whole mental wellness thing. I mean, I've always been an advocate for, this self-improvement awareness overall, but specifically with that, it definitely started with my own personal losses when my mother and my grandmother passed away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I definitely can understand that. My grandparents are deceased, and my mother and father are deceased. So
Mhm.
there are challenges dealing with grief. So, what was it about dealing with those losses? With I'm imagining you're close to your family that pushed
Oh yeah.
you on this path.
I mean, my family, we're a small, kind of tight knit bunch. There's not that many of us, especially not now, but um, a lot of people can relate to being, closer to the maternal side. So, like a lot of us, especially in the Black community, our matriarchs are our queens. Sometimes they're the heads of our family, but even if they aren't, directly, they
Yeah.
still hold a place of significance in the family structure. And a lot of people got stories about growing up with grandma. Grandma took care of me, eating at grandma house.
Yeah.
Mama's my best friend, mama's my heart. So for me, those were extremely true, just as a woman and just in general growing up.
Okay.
My mother was my best friend. My grandmother was an integral part of my life and
Right.
part of who I am. So when those losses, transpired, even though it happened in my adult life, it still doesn't lessen the significance and impact once it happened.
Right. Understandable. Understandable. And it's. I think you put that in some of your writing, right? Some of your
Oh
work.
yeah, definitely. That
Okay.
is actually the introduction of the grief journal, as go into depth and talk about when the loss happened and like the level of impact that it had. And that's how the journal starts off. Because really the journal is called I Remember Her. And specifically it's called that because of the specific losses that I had. But really it's for anyone that's experienced a significant loss, but primarily if you've lost a her,
Right.
it's especially for you. So that her can look like any her, a
Okay.
spouse, a child, your sister, your cousin, whomever her is to you. It is a tool for you to not only experience and really relate to somebody that's been there, but also for you to unpack wherever it is that you're feeling and experiencing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I have a well, I would love to explore more a little bit about grief before we go into what you're doing now with Improve You. Um, I have a special person in my life who lost their father 3 months ago, and
Yeah.
uh, what do you say about people who should they seek out grief counseling, or what would you say about someone who just experiencing grief, loss of a loved one, especially going into the holiday season?
Yeah, holiday season. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It's rough. I can laugh about it now, but them first few years, woof, it was rough. It wasn't like something that you can like anticipate how you're gonna feel, how you're gonna act. Whether you're gonna even want to be bothered with family or whether you even want to be bothered with celebrating or any of those things that you normally experience or partake in because your life as you knew it is over. Is different. And when you don't have those physical presences, dealing with the holidays can be really difficult because the people that you grew up with, the people that you love or had in your life, they symbolize the holidays because it's about family togetherness, and you've seen other people with their families, and it's like, dang, I don't have this person here anymore. I don't have that person here anymore.
Yeah.
And if it's somebody that's integral to the holiday spirit, like your grandma, where everybody went to grandma's house for the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you don't have grandma no more, it's like, okay, well, who takes the mantle? Who takes the reins? And even when you do have, different traditions, you might make some modifications, but it's just never the same.
Yeah.
Like
No,
grandma's house is always going to be grandma's house,
yeah. Yeah.
but it's not the same when grandma's not there. Because,
Exactly. Exactly.
grandma or mom or whomever, they were the holidays. Their spirit embodied the
Yes.
holidays.
Yes. Yes.
And that's irreplaceable.
What would you tell people? How would they deal with that? What's the first step?
I
Even
would tell the first thing is to take it a day at a time,
okay.
because you have to be gracious with yourself first and foremost. You have to understand that what you're experiencing is valid. Your feelings are valid. Don't try to suppress your feelings or act like you don't have them, because we all do. I know society like to teach us differently, tell us not to feel, especially fellas. It's like, oh, I'm not emotional, I'm not sensitive. It's not about that, though. We're all human. We all experience things, at different times, different strengths. We all, when we have things happen in our lives, such as grief and loss,
Yeah.
we all experience it differently. So I would tell you first and foremost to, extend yourself some grace.
Okay.
You're valid in what you're feeling, and don't let anyone tell you differently. Like someone's not experiencing it the same way that you are, because they're not you. So your grief and your loss, you can have two people experiencing the same level of loss, like as far as the individual or the situation, and experience it entirely different. And you can have two types of losses. Like for me, when my grandmother passed, it was different than
Right.
from when my mother passed, and then even more different recently when my father just passed.
Right.
All three completely different grief experiences,
Yeah.
different people, but same individual experiencing it. So even within one individual experiencing loss, you're going to experience it differently. So just imagine between two different individuals, how
Right.
different your experience is going to be. So you have to extend yourself grace and extend the people around you grace.
Right.
Also, let people help you. Don't isolate yourself. There's times where you're not going to want to be around people, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone's there to support you,
Yes.
allow them to support you in the way that you need to be supported.
Yes. Okay. Awesome.
Support system has helped me tremendously. So it's like, besides counseling, I feel like if you really need to go to counseling, it's not always necessary, but you need to have some sort of support system, whether it's a counselor, loved ones, a therapist, friend, whomever it is, or whoever the people are. You need to have that.
Yes. Yes. And I think it's okay to admit to yourself that you may not ever get over that loss.
You're not going to get over it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because some people.
You're just going to work through it. It's
Yeah.
just going to change form. You're going to wake up one day, you know what? I'm not crying as hard today.
Yes. Yes.
Or I can get up out of bed today.
Yes.
Or I can look at their picture today. Whereas a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't even flip through the photo album because it was too hard.
Right. Right. Right.
And it's funny that you so or remember I was just said about when you, especially holiday time, when you see other people with their families,
Yeah.
and how that could be triggering.
Yes.
So on my way downtown earlier, actually,
Mm-hmm.
I saw a woman from a distance. I knew it was my mother, obviously, but she
Right.
had the same style of wig that my mother used to wear.
Yeah.
And she was a very similar complexion. So from a distance,
Right.
height wise and everything, she reminded me of my mother. And as she
Yeah.
was walking close, I'm like, oh my God, this woman, I know
Yeah.
it's not her, and she don't have no twins, but this lady remind me of my mother.
Yeah. That's happened to me. I would be out somewhere and my dad, he used to wear these like rim hats.
Hmm.
And I see a guy wearing a hat like that, similar complexion. I'd be like,
Yep.
dang, I thought I just saw my dad.
Yeah. Yeah. And depending upon where you are, like in your grief journey, that can be triggering.
Yeah, it can.
Very triggering.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Wow. So that's great. So that you this whole mental health journey started with yourself.
Yeah.
the loss ones, and you journaling and making that. And I want to commend you for uh, turning your loss and your challenges and using that to be of service to others who may be dealing with something similar. So, shouts out to you. That deserves some love. Um, I want to transition. So it's quite interesting with Improve You. What specifically is Improve You, and how did that come?
So Improve You, it started when, okay, after the journal was completed and published. So I technically completed the digital copy in 2020.
Mhm.
That was a fiasco. I literally lost all my work.
Wow.
My computer crashed and like literally my whole journal was gone.
Mm.
And I happened to have the wherewithal, thank God, to back up a text copy in Google Drive. So for anybody that's a writer or just in general, if you have important work, make sure you back up a text copy, because these computers, I don't care if it's a Mac or
Right.
Windows operation system, it don't even matter. Things can happen any point in time. Look what happened earlier with the
With
web camera. It's like,
with-
why did you pick of now all times to not be operational? You just never know.
yeah.
So when I lost my work, I took it as a sign. Like ever since this whole journey started, I've been very aligned and connected. So you know, how you question or you panic or freak out immediately.
Mhm.
In the midst of that, I always knew it was divine timing for when things like that happen. Like there's no other explanation. It has to be divine, something divine related, because every time something happened, the end result later on will be greater than I ever expected. So
Mhm.
with the journal, prime example, at that time I was applying for funding. I received funding right after that happened, and I actually had 50 more pages that I didn't even intentionally write the first time around.
Right. Right. Okay.
I was able to publish it. I had print copies in 2021. And then, it just went up from there. But yeah, those happy accidents have been very integral part of this whole process. So when I was publishing and promoting the journal, I started to do research because we are in the middle of the pandemic and
Right.
all these things are happening around us. We getting locked down,
Right.
and I started reading the news. And besides them, talking about the vaccine and COVID this and COVID that, I started looking at all the mental health crisis. Is a huge. I mean, we're still in a mental health crisis.
Yeah.
It's just now starting to really be acknowledged and be less taboo, and solutions are being proposed. But we've been in the mental crisis for the last 3 years, 3+ years.
Mhm.
And so everything just heightened during the pandemic. And once I started looking at statistics, I noticed that there were certain groups that were very adversely affected. Like if you saw some of the stats I saw, you should be beyond alarmed. It was very off-putting and alarming. I'm talking about domestic violence
Yeah.
instances going up with
Yeah.
people, but you can't leave because you should be locked down. So
Right.
people beating on their spouses or their girlfriends or boyfriends or whomever,
Mhm.
kids. But then the suicide rates skyrocketed,
Yep.
especially among men.
Mhm.
Men like ages, I believe it was 18 to 35 was the most affected target group.
Right.
And then youth, these kids, they already don't have the coping skills, and they're, bullied constantly. You got social media, you got all these stressors that we didn't have growing up. And
Right.
even, people slightly younger than us didn't have to really deal with. So
Mhm.
they're also checking out. We're talking about 11, 12-year-olds coming home and hanging themselves and slitting their wrists and all types of,
Right.
we think is crazy, but this is their reality. And it just like skyrocketed and elevated during the pandemic. And I'm just looking at this like, what can I do? Like, what's a solution that I can come up with to
Right.
help? I can't solve the problem by myself, but I can at least contribute to the solution. So
Okay.
that's where the basis for Improve You originated. Is like, you know what? I don't know what a mental health fund looks like because I've never heard of such a thing. But I want, how do services like Taraji B. Henson was one prime example that I saw. She started her nonprofit. I believe it's in honor of her dad or her grandfather, and she was giving away therapy services. And I thought that is so dope. Like
Right.
to be able to even do that, and she had such a demand because there's people out here struggling. They are really in need,
Right.
and she sold out. They couldn't even keep up with the demand for all the people requesting therapy because they
Right.
was giving their free therapy sessions. And I'm like, how do things like that get funded? So
Right.
that's really where Improve You started, was with those thoughts. And then I just did research and just took it from there and then working it out as I go.
Okay. Okay. And who was it for? Is it? I know
For
you're up.
everybody.
It's for everybody. Okay.
So everyone.
Okay. What is the specific services that you provide?
So right now, the way it's mapped out, like the website is being revamped right now, but the goal of it is, the premise is for you to be able to improve yourself, financially, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Because once I was starting my grieving process, not only did it personally happen to me that all those areas were affected at the same exact time after my mother passed, but I noticed that that's a trend. Those are things that we don't really talk about or even think about when we're grieving.
Yeah.
Is like how our finances are affected. We got illnesses and people get sick. Like I already got sick for 2 weeks straight after my mom died. I lost a job after she died. I had to move. It was just so many different factors that we don't really touch on when we talk about death and making changes and transitions.
Right.
So having a platform like Improve You, I want it to be where people can, it basically be like a one-stop shop for improving yourself holistically in those areas. So you'll be able to hear from experts. There'll be expert advice on the website,
Right.
referrals, as we grow in your area, but at least to get telehealth referrals and access to, counselors and therapists, but also financial experts, or maybe you need tax help.
Okay.
But I wanted it to be basically it's a hub. So the three main areas of focus will be men, youth, and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, we don't have nothing. When
Right.
it comes to mental health, we have zero resources.
Right. Right. Right.
There's nothing geared towards us. So that was like the third group. And though, Improve You is for everybody. Those are the three main core areas of focus that we'll focus
All
on.
right. All right. So that's a good segue to the three areas that you talked about. And I wanted to ask because this upcoming event is men too.
Yes.
And it's interesting when it comes to mental health services, particularly with men. There's kind of a stigma for
Yeah.
mental help and counseling. Back in the day, guys would joke like, "Hey, man, you okay?" Or guys kind
Mhm.
of realize things and like, "Man, I don't even talk. No, I can handle it. You need to man up or whatever." Those
Yep.
kind of comments. What was particular about what prompts you to focus on men and mental health?
Well, it started with, like I was saying, about looking at those statistics with men and suicide.
Wow.
And then just my own personal experience, just being in relationships and my last relationship, some of the things that individual dealt with and that I had to, cope with and deal with being in a relationship with that person. I just noticed the pattern. And talking to people in general and just social media, I just see all these different common occurrences amongst different types of men. And it's not saying it's all the same thing, but it's a lot of similarities out there. And like you said, there's not a lot of resources,
Mm-hmm.
and there is still stigma. That actually was the first group. That was the first event actually last year. It
Mm-hmm.
started in August of last year. It was supposed to kick off as a quarterly thing, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to do volume 2 at the end of last year like I wanted.
Right.
So I was able to arrange it, for this fall. But going forward, it's going to be a quarterly series
Okay.
where the topics will rotate and change, and then there'll be different guys on the panel. All the guys on the panel are from different walks of life, different educational levels, backgrounds, but it's all centered around a theme. So stigma was the first thing,
Okay.
and we did touch on the stigma about counseling and mental health. We also talked about incarceration and how that works with that,
Right.
and racism, because all these different factors and variables are involved with the stigma and reason why men struggle with mental health. We got all these other areas that's not really touched on.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. We're going to go into, I got some slides where people can, they want to talk more specifically about your event and how people can sign up and
Okay.
do that. But we're going to take a quick announcement break. A couple of things are coming up. I'm going to show a quick announcement. When we come back, we're going to talk specifically about your event, how people can register, and what they can expect. So we have some announcements. For those who don't know aware of, here and it's not celebrated everywhere, but this weekend is in Michigan, I think in Ohio and Indiana. It's Tuesday weekend, and I have a friend of the podcast has a play coming up. I'm going to show a clip of that, and also encourage everybody to support Black Detroit. When we come back, we're going to go more into this event coming up, how you can get registered, and
Yes.
and how you connect. So we'll be right back. 1 second.
All right.
Hi, it's your girl Kim Brooks, national best-selling author of the novel He's Fine, But Is He Saved? And several books for singles. And I'm so excited to announce after many, many years, it's finally happening. He's Fine, But Is He Saved? Is coming to the stage. The book that you, Detroit, helped make a bestseller. And it's featuring an all-star cast. We got Brumman, Reggie Ballard from Martin, Brumman from the Fifth Zone. We also have Joshua Rogers, Sunday Best winner from BET, Thicker Than Waters, Jewel Tankers, with Detroit's finest talent, including Paul Dean, Dr. Eddie Connor, Jason Jamerson, Tavon Platt, and rising stars Queen Fierce, Brielle, and Santa Sanika, and more. This play is filled with drama and laughter and will keep you at the edge of your seat. Written and executive produced by yours truly, Kim Brooks, and directed by the legendary TJ Hemphill, this play is unprecedented, and it all goes down this Sweeties Day weekend, Saturday, October 21st, and Sunday, October 22nd, here at the beautiful Michael Guido Theater, where every seat is a great seat, and free parking on site as well. Single ladies, make it a girls' night out for Sweeties Day. Couples, bring your boo. Family friendly, bring the entire family. Church groups are welcome as well. Come on out to Metro Detroit, stage play of the year. Get your tickets now. They're on sale while it's fresh on your mind. And we thank you in advance for your support. You know what? You're going to have a great time this Sweeties Day. Join us 2 nights only. It's going to be epic.
Black Leaders Detroit, they knew that during the pandemic, that Black businesses were going to be left out of any type of funding that the government gave, and they wanted to make sure that they were able to figure out how they could step up and help, because again, this is their community, and they want to make sure that their community is still here when this pandemic is over with. And the only way you can do that is by offering support to your community, and so they stepped up and they did that.
I've been telling everyone I know about Black Leaders Detroit. The things that they're doing is simply amazing. And they're taking care of business for the Black business owners.
It's $1 a week donation to keep this great thing moving. $1 a week keeps it popping. Black Leaders Detroit.
All right, we are back. Welcome back. Definitely want to encourage people to support Black Leaders Detroit. I'm
Yes.
to serve as an ambassador, and just $1 a week. Go to blackdetroit.org, become a member, and join me in making a difference in the community, helping support Black-led businesses and nonprofits. So, all right,
We're going to be supporting each other because I'm joining up
all right,
ASAP.
all right, cool.
I'm next.
All right, that's awesome. All right, so for those who are joining us or watching the podcast, we're here with Qiana M. Davis. She shared her journey with dealing with her challenges with grief. She worked about that experience, and it pushed her into this arena of helping people cope and deal with mental health issues. About her Improve You. And so I want to go into your event that's going to be held this Monday. Is that correct? Next Monday coming up?
Yes, Monday, October 23rd from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Okay. And how can they register for this event? Is there a cost, or what's all involved?
No, it is free entry. I am encouraging people to donate to the Improve You Mental Health Fund, because a good friend of mine and sponsor, Made Lifestyle, is actually giving away a bottle of his signature cologne, a pocket square for the fellas, as well as a custom wallet. So and that's only $5 to enter the raffle. $1 per each entry after that, and I'm going to select someone at random for all 3 prizes.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if you go to Eventbrite and just look up men-TOO, and if it doesn't pop up all right away, you look up Men 2 Mental Health Series,
Okay.
and it should come up, and you can register for free, or go to improveyou.com.
They go to improveyou.com, or they go to Eventbrite and type in men-TOO mental health services, and they can register for free.
Mental Health Series.
Mental health series. Men-2 mental health series.
Yes.
Eventbrite. Now, where's it going to be located?
It is at Durfee Innovation Society, which, if you have never been, is a phenomenal building. It used to be Durfee like middle school, so it's on the other side of Central.
Okay.
They have done such a wonderful job converting that building. It's truly for a community. They have a theater in there. They have an arcade. There's a basketball court. There's a reading room, and they do so many phenomenal programs and different things with the community surrounding, as well as in other areas.
Okay.
So it is on 2470 Collingwood Street,
24
which is right off of LaSalle.
Of LaSalle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Give that address one more time for our audience. Make sure they got it.
2470 Collingwood Street.
Okay. And what time does it start?
6 p.m. So 6 to 6:30 is just the mingle time. Give people time to get there, mingle with each other. Network a little bit, and then we're gonna kick off the actual panel at 6:30. So there'll be refreshments, possibly a food truck, and like I said, there'll be some vendors in the building. Some of our sponsors, like Detroit Wayne Integrated Health and Oak Street Health, will be there with some mental health and wellness resources for those that are attending, and we're just going to hear from some phenomenal speakers. So I got some really great guys on the panel.
Okay, awesome. I understand that is there still vending opportunities for people who
yes
later?
So if you have a unisex product, it does not have to be anything specific, as long as it's not alcohol or smoking or edibles or anything like that. Of course not for this event. But we gonna do with the strictly wellness. So if you have, especially if you have a health and wellness related product or service, I definitely want to talk to you. You can email me at emprove@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me via text or phone call 313-454-1324.
So you're still accepting vendors. When's the last cutoff to?
Preferably by Sunday, please, and thank you. If not before.
All right. So give that email and that number again, for those who watch
the email is emprove as a Victor and the letter U @gmail.com. And the phone number is 313-454-1324.
Okay. And I think this is the website here.
Well, that is a sample page. So it's under construction underneath that. So it'll be up tomorrow.
Okay. All right. So that's the website. You're still working on that. People can register. Right. We'll go to Improve You. What was the website for the they can register for the on the website?
No, I was saying that you can send a message, but you go to Eventbrite and look up Men 2, the event will pop up.
All right. What would you say this event is for?
Well, it's really for anyone. It's for any man, and even there are some women showing up this time. I try to kind of keep it for the fellas, but let's be real, the fellas ain't really showing up like that. And I've been told, all the guys have been like, oh, sis, you doing what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. First and foremost, you gotta be patient with us. I'm like, I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying. I just need for more men to tell your brothers, your sons, or whomever, like, hey, listen, she's putting together something specifically for us, and we need to support her. It's free. That's all I ask. But it's really for anyone, male especially. If you want to self-improve, if you want to network and talk amongst brethren that may know where you've been and where you're trying to go, you might see yourself up on that stage with some of the brothers up there that's going to be speaking. They might have experienced some things that you've experienced, or they might learn from you. You just never know. That's why you have to show up to these things and talk. And if you can't talk about your experience, at least be willing and open to listen.
Okay. Who are some of the people that's going to be on the panel?
So I actually have, shout out to Willie Burton. He's been very instrumental about helping me promote.
Right. Shout out to Willie Burton.
He's a funny guy. He's cool. So he's a police commissioner of District 5. I have Corey Woods. Corey is actually a prominent reporter with MLive.com that covers our great Pistons and our Lions. So he's going to be on the panel representing for the media. I have Julius Curry, who's used to be in the NFL. He's played for various teams over the years. Julius and I have known each other for a while, but he has a very interesting story because his entry in sports right now is something that's not explored by us readily. He's like on the NASCAR circuit. So he has his own racing team, and you don't really see many of us in anything associated with NASCAR, whether semi-pro or professionally. But he's had his own racing team for years. So he's on the panel talking about the sports angle of things. Philby Rockwell is a Grammy Award-winning producer. If you're familiar with the brand What Up Though, and Filthy Americans, those are his brands. So he's going to be talking about the music and the fashion. And that's one other person. Oh, Lazar Favors too. Lazar Favors, if you're familiar with him, or at least his brand, it's called Black Spirits Legacy. He pretty much has the only Black owned company that just focuses on Black spirit brands. Which is something that's emerging and popping. He just had an event back in September, so he does a taste of Black spirits twice a year.
I met him and at another event. I'm gonna make sure I check out his event.
So I got some solid guys, some heavy hitters. People know, some people know about them, some people don't. But hey, you come to this event, you're gonna meet them.
Exactly. What are some of the topics they're going to address?
Oh yeah, I got some really deep topics. See, listen, Charles, I'm a deep thinker. I can't help it. So, so the premise of this theme, and we're immersed in media, as professionals, but just looking around us, being on social media, the things that we see in the media are very alarming, and it's a constant point of contention and division, especially amongst men and women, going back and forth. So I had to do a theme about media, negative stereotypes. We're going to talk about masculinity, what that means, what that looks like.
You're going to address the manosphere in the red pill community, or?
Ooh, we might not touch on that.
All right.
You know what? What I really wish I could have got was somebody from the LGBTQ community to be on the panel, because especially to talk about masculinity and what that looks like, because it's such a broad spectrum now, and those are things that are not explored, and it's probably very triggering and touching for a lot of people. Like, there would definitely be some pushback, but I wanted to have that pushback because these are things we need to talk about. Plus, we're talking about emasculation. We're talking about a man's role in society and what that looks like and how that's minimized.
So Will
Smith is going to
be there. Will Smith is going to be there.
You know what? I had somebody I had somebody almost really get mad at me talking about him. They thought I was defending Jada, and I wasn't.
Okay.
You know what? You know why?
Why did they thought you was defending?
Okay, so we were talking about narcissism, and I know you saw my interview with Black Leaders Detroit and the Jon Snow part of the interview when I was talking about narcissism, but people really don't know what that means. Right. So they were debating about whether she was a covert narcissist or overt. And for those that don't really know what that means, so overt is a stereotypical common example of narcissism. And when people say narcissist, that's what they're talking about. The loud, arrogant, no empathy, blah, 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 blah. That's the typical example. That's called an overt. There are a lot of subgroups within what we see, and that's like a whole rabbit hole and a whole nother show that we can talk about with that. There are literally like at least 5 to 7 different types of narcissism, and the two subgroups, overt and covert, are the most common. And actually, most people are covert narcissists, which is why you don't even think they're a narcissist until you dive deep into their behavior. But they're literally two sides of the same coin. They operate the same. One is just loud and extroverted. The other one is sneakier and introverted. But they're both manipulative. They both operate off a sense of insecurity, and they both need to feel validated, admired, and have a inflated sense of self-importance and ego.
Yes.
So what my point was with that, I was saying that the two of them are the two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
Now, if you read Will's book, you would further understand why I'm saying that.
I didn't read Will's book.
Yeah, I read Will's book, and some of the stuff he talked about with his childhood is the reason why I say that.
Right, right.
So yeah, they got mad. They thought I was defending her. I'm like, no, I've said they both the problem, is what I said.
Okay. One is an invert, one is an invert, or one is
I said that Jada has become more extroverted. She's still not overt, but she's become more vocal. She wasn't vocal before.
Yes.
Ever since she got the red table talk, that's all you've been hearing. You can't get her to shut up about things.
Hey, I don't know.
So I didn't say, like, oh, she an overt, blah, 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 because they were like, oh, no, she's a covert. I'm like, nah, she's still being sneaky, and she's being roundabout with her manipulation. It's like a subtle thing that she's doing. It's still overt, is literally loud in your face. They don't care.
Right.
They don't care at all. Like, I'm going to call you names. I'm going to turn everybody against you. I'm going to talk bad about you and dog you. Right. She's not doing none of that. She's doing some roundabout things to minimize him.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Yes. Okay.
So that's the difference.
I just thought of his Will Smith's name only because when you were talking about emasculation and feel that
for sure. Someone was saying to me, which I think this might have some truth to it. So someone was saying they think that he has a shaming fetish. And I can totally see why they say that. There literally is fetishes is a whole nother subtopic, a different show too, where there literally it's mostly men. I'm sure there's some women out here that buy into that too, but the shaming fetish is where you do or say or allow things in order to be shamed because you get off on it somehow. I'm not sure how to like best vocalize it, but it's like a thing that people actually get either sexually aroused or they get some sort of feeling from it. So they let other people shame them or minimize them in some way. Humiliation. It's a humiliation thing.
Okay.
But again, this is all stemming from this dysfunction. So dysfunction is not rational, no way. So a functionally rational person that has a healthy relationship wouldn't understand.
Right. Absolutely. Well, hey, man, it sounds like you're going to have a great event.
Yes.
I actually have a podcast scheduled Monday at 8. What time? How long does the event go?
So it goes until 8:30.
Oh, okay. Well,
you probably have to set up for your podcast.
I mean, I can't make a promise. I'm going to see what I can do to pop in real quick or something.
Yeah, well, even if you pop in at the beginning, I would appreciate that. I would love to have you and formally meet.
Yes. Just to support. I like when people are doing positive things, and definitely dealing with the issue of mental health and among men too. That's a great. So I just want to commend you. And,
thank you.
This platform is about celebrating what Detroiters are doing. We're making positive contributions, and also to give people their flowers. So I just want to celebrate you and what you're doing, the work you're doing, and just want to give you applause. And as we wrap things up, what's the best way we can be supportive for those who want to make donations or support your continued work?
So if you, I definitely welcome anyone that's on social, especially if you're on Facebook or Instagram. Please follow me. You can look me up, Qiana, M as in Mary, Davis in Detroit. I'll pop right on up. And please follow me. Send me a message. If you go to Emprove.com, as well as on Instagram, it's just my first name and middle initial. I kept it simple, easy to find. You can also send me a message on Instagram as well, Qiana M. And yeah, just like, shoot me. Don't be shy. I'm friendly. I'll be in my thoughts sometime, but I'm friendly most of the time.
Okay, all right. Any announcements or closing remarks as we wrap things up?
Yes. Okay. Who likes the Pistons? Because that actually is right after Men Too. I actually have a fundraiser. It's my first fundraiser
Okay.
for the Improve You Mental Health Fund. And we are going to have fun with the Pistons. When the Pistons play the Blazers on November 1st at 7 o'clock. I have tickets right now. They start at $30 for the upper and
Fundraiser.
$40 for the lower level. You do get a shot on the court. So you can go live out your hoop dreams on the court right quick.
How much?
And you also,
This is a fundraiser for your business, for your nonprofit, right?
well, I'm not a nonprofit, so
Oh, okay. Well,
not yet.
what you doing yet? Okay.
But it is so Improve You is technically a social enterprise. I know it's like a new
That's good. That's good.
structure.
Yeah.
But for those that aren't familiar with that, that's really just like a social type of business. That's not technically a nonprofit. So I don't have the 501c3 status,
Right.
but I do nonprofit type things such as fundraising. So the mental health fund is specifically for me to raise money so that I can support nonprofits that offer therapy and counseling services, as well as suicide prevention and awareness services to the community.
Okay. That's awesome.
So this is your way to support that. Come to the Pistons game, or you shoot me a message. I have a link for actually a GoFundMe that's currently set up specifically for the mental health fund.
All right, that's great. Support the mental health fund. So, want to encourage our audience. Look up Qiana M on Instagram, Facebook, Qiana M Davis. Reach out to her, send her a message if you want to support the upcoming Piston game or donate to the mental health fund. Wow.
Yes.
So I want to thank you for your time. I know we had a few bumps to get going, but I appreciate your time. I know you got a lot going on, and I wish you well in your endeavors. And thank you again for what you're.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yes, and being on the podcast.
Oh yeah, I had a ball. I always have a good time.
Yes, yes. All right. So thank you again. Okay. So that wraps up our podcast for today. Thank you for those who are watching. If you find value in what we're doing, please like and subscribe and share. Share with a friend, share with a family. Great resources, great opportunities. I'm going to have information in the description about this upcoming event. Remember to go to Eventbrite. You're a man or you're an ally to a man, or you want to come check out what's going on. You want to go to Eventbrite at men-too mental health series and register. Thanks again. I'll see you guys next Monday. You guys have a good night. Thank you for your time, and please like and subscribe to the channel.